Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Brie, and today's video I'm going to be going over some summer recommendations and beach kind of reads. I know it's hitting later summer as when this goes up it'll be almost July, but I just want to give you some recommendations for that last month and a half of warm weather. Though if you're, I guess, somewhere more south, then summer for longer, because here it starts getting a little colder in August. But all that to say is I hope you find some good summer recommendations from this list. When I think about summer and my reading, I think about a couple different things. So I think about thrillers that have maybe more fast-paced action, or maybe deal with like a lot of people dynamics but not in a cold setting. I think about like boarding schools for some reason, things like that. And then I also think about middle grades and certain like adventure type middle grade books. I also think about some cozier, shorter reads. Maybe there's some magical elements to it, but just something that makes you feel like happy and cozy. So those are the kind of books I think of, but I also want to, at the end of this video, kind of put some books that are on my radar for the rest of the summer, so that even though I don't Hi! Why have you been obsessed with my drink today? No. Come here. Sorry. So I have some books that are on my TBR that I just want to go through because I think that could help you maybe have some other ideas of things, even though I haven't read them and can't really recommend them. I just know that they're something that I want to read this summer. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. I think I want to start with more the middle grade books. There's something about certain middle grade books that are like adventure stories that just scream summer to me, and I love reading them in summer. I love taking them on vacation because they're quick to read and they're just warm and cozy. They're not something too heavy, and so when I'm traveling, I don't really want a very heavy, hard-hitting thriller. I want something that's just going to make me feel good. So I have a couple of them. The first one I read last year, and it's The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I really like this. I think this could also maybe be a fall read for some people, but for me, just like this adventure through the woods was just so summer to me. I don't know why, but it was. And this is following a girl who was left as a baby because this town gives up a baby each year, I think it is, and a witch finds her and takes her in, and usually she gives them a little bit of starlight and gives them to a town across the way, and for people who want a baby but maybe can't have one. But this night she was a little distracted and she accidentally gave the baby moonlight, which means that this baby now has magic. And then she decides to take her and raise her as her own, but things start going wrong around, I think, her 13th birthday, and she must discover things about herself and also try to save her mother. In the process, there is like a dragon in this, there's like other animal creatures in this, and it's just like a sweet story, coming of age story, that I think lends itself so well to summer. And it was really well written. It was very fairy tale feeling to me, and so I could not recommend this more. The next one I just read in a reading blog recently, and that's Ava Evergreen's I'm a Magical Witch by Julie Abe. This is such a sweet story. It's about a girl who is a novice, or she wants to become a novice witch, and to do that you have to pass this quest, and if you don't pass it then they'll take away your magic. And her mother is like the highest witch there is, and she's always looked up to her mother and wants to be like her mom, so for her, losing her magic would be to lose everything. So she goes on her novice witch quest and she must prove herself, but she only has a pinch of magic, so she's really struggling. And again, it's just a really cute coming of age story. This one gives me all the summer feels because it's on a seaside town and she's running around, and literally like there's piers, there's boats, there's just all of the summer feels, and this cover I think explains it enough of how that feels just like summer. So I really recommend this. I think I gave this 4 stars when I read it, and it was just a really sweet story that I really love. So the next one is a favorite. I grew up watching the movie, and then I read the book as an adult, and I did really like it, and it just screams adventure to me, which is, again, summer. So that is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This is following Tristan, and he is in love with this girl, and she basically says if she will marry him if he can go catch her the shooting falling star that they just saw through the sky. So he takes off on this adventure to find it for her, and she doesn't really believe it's ever going to happen because she thinks it's impossible, but he ends up going across into this other like town that's magic that I think people aren't supposed to cross into. And it's his adventure of bringing the star back to her. And there's so many things. There's a flying ship in here. There's just like a lot of ridiculous adventures. There's witches that are trying to get to the fallen star first. And yeah, it's a really quick read. Neil Gaiman has very like lyrical writing. He has a little bit of lyrical writing, but it's in a very like fairy tale feel. And I felt like I could still follow along. And it was just like a really great fun adventure that I think is perfect for summer. And the last one is one I reread all the time, and that's Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This one is just obviously summer to me. It's a castle on the move, and a girl, Sophie, who is transformed into an old woman, and she finds Howl's Moving Castle, and she kind of just comes on board, and it's about like finding yourself and accepting yourself and things like that, and I just love it so much. It's one of my favorite books to go back to, and it just screams summer. Like a moving castle, potions, you know, a lady turned into an old woman. What could be more summer, you know? So next, I think I'm going to go into more of the thrillers that I think scream summer, and I'll explain each one why I think that they feel like summer, because they're all for kind of different reasons, but these are just certain thrillers that I love to read during the summer. So the first one I read really recently, and that's The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Simone St. James has the Book of Cold Cases, and that one feels more wintry to me, but something about this outdoor motel feels just like summer to me. Like it's 80s, and it's at a motel, and it just, that like vibe, that eerie vibe, feels like something I would read like on a camping trip around a fire, where it's kind of like spooky, and yeah, I would just take this on vacation. It's a very fast read. I thought it was like compelling. It's upstate New York. It just gives me all the summer. And I think if you like something that is eerie but not super disturbing, but will keep you guessing and is like gives you this creep factor, with also there's always paranormal elements in her books, which I really enjoy. And I think that also gives me like that summer feel. So I would highly recommend this book for summer. The next one is a horror, and that is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I think this could go two ways. You could read it in fall, because horror, fall seem to go together. But I feel like this is actually really good for summer. It's just like Southern ladies, and they're fighting a vampire, and it's it's a hard book to read in that like there's a lot of gaslighting going on in this book. But I thought it was just so well done, and something about like them all getting together for barbecues and getting together for book club and like all of the things that a mom has to do. It just feels like summer to me, and something about a vampire hunting the town reminds me of summer. Maybe it's because I would always read or watch The Vampire Diaries during the summer. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm not explaining this well, but I feel like it feels like summer. If you're looking for a very fast-paced, also hard-hitting like horror, and also vampires, friendship, and like a lot of messiness and terrible husbands, like this is a perfect summer book. So the next one is because of the action, and that is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This is following two ex-cons as their sons, who were married and had a child, were killed, and the child survived and is in custody of Ike and his wife, and they team up to find whoever killed their sons. And this is about like two men who are confronting their own homophobia and the ways that they were terrible fathers to their sons because their sons were gay, and also like getting revenge. So it's definitely a revenge story, and it's just so fast paced. It reads like an action movie, so that's why I think it's good for summer, because if you like action movies, I feel like that's the summer is always the time I like really want to watch an action movie. And so I feel like this kind of book is great for summer. Also, like if you were on a road trip, it just is so quick. You could read this like in the car, fly through it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this when I read it. I think it had a lot to say. My one critique of the book would be that I wish it gave more perspective from the sons, but in this, the sons are already dead, but I wish there was like maybe more flashbacks to give the sons a little bit more depth to them. But this is definitely like a book that's dealing with internalized homophobia from like the parents' perspective. But I did really enjoy how fast it is. Again, it's perfect for summer. And the last two have to deal with schools, and I think there's something about boarding school or school that just gives me a summer feel. Even though I guess you're technically out of school in the summer, I don't know. There's just something about it. And the first one is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike-Yemide. And this one is following two black students, and they are the only two black students at this boarding school. It's like a very elite boarding school. It doesn't really tell you where in the country this takes place. It's like funnels into Ivy League, so like almost everyone who goes there goes to an Ivy League. And they are like the two who are up for being valedictorian. And then all of a sudden one day they start getting these like notes that are threatening them, threatening to reveal secrets about them. And they learn that they need to team up and figure out what's going on, and has a lot of social commentary in here. This also has LGBTQ plus rep, and so that is another thing that I really enjoyed about this book. But I think it is hard to read, but it is a great commentary and just like really makes you feel a lot. And I would definitely highly recommend picking this up if you're looking for a YA thriller, boarding school, everyone has secrets kind of a thing. And the last one I read recently, and it is a new favorite of mine, and that is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is following a group of people as they go back for their 10-year college reunion, and they used to have 7 of them, but in college one of them, Heather, was murdered with scissors, and they believed the boyfriend did it, but he was acquitted and never like gone to jail for it. And during this reunion all the secrets are going to come out, and we're going to find out what actually happened to Heather. And there's multiple points of view, but you're mainly following Jessica, who is kind of, I would call her an unreliable narrator. She is very self-centered, and she is always thinking about how she is viewed by others and things like that. It was very twisty-turny. It was done so well. Like, there's a lot of reveals, one for like basically each character, and it's over the top, it's ridiculous, but in the best way, and I just felt it was a great time, and I would highly recommend it. So those are all the thrillers. And then I have my last stack of recommendations that I have read, and then I'll get into my TBR. So I have 2 kind of short books. This one is A Song for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, and I think that this is just a fun story. You're just kind of going around seeing this world that is, I think, supposed to be on another planet, and you're following a T-Monk and a robot as they just go around and contemplate life. And I feel like this is just a great book for the summer. You could take it on a trip, read it in no time. The audiobook is like 4 hours, and it just gives you this like really cozy feeling. The world building in this is just so cool to read about. The conversations in this are very philosophical, and I think that's something I always like in the summer. It's just like, you know, thinking about the world, and although not right now. I'd highly recommend like a novella like this. It's not very plot heavy, but I think that the characters and the world is so cozy. Like, I just didn't want to leave. And the next one is coming out, I think, in July, so I definitely will be picking that up. And then one I just read from the library and is now a favorite is Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire, and this is book 1 in the Wayward Children series. And this is like a boarding school, X-Men-y boarding school, though completely different. But okay, I'm not pitching this well. This is a boarding school for like girls mostly, but there are boys that have gone through portals and then they come back and they aren't the same, so their parents send them to this boarding school to help them get better, but really it's just kind of like a magical boarding school. There's a mystery element to this. It's a portal fantasy, and each book is following a different character, and I think some may go through portals, some it's just set at the boarding school. It just gives me like cozy vibes. It's very much like a found family situation, and although it's like kind of spookier, I don't know, something about this like found family boarding school just screams summer to me, and I loved the writing in here. It's definitely adult. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to lean more YA, but no, this was definitely adult feeling, but I just loved it. I thought that the story itself, the mystery, wasn't like the most compelling mystery of all time, but just being here with the characters was a 5-star for me. So yeah, I really love this, and you could probably binge the series with how short they are. Then going along with that kind of vibe is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, another found family situation. We're following Linus as he goes around to homes for like magical children, their orphanages, and he kind of makes sure that they're being run correctly because magical children are like, people are scared of them and stuff. So they have to be like really watched, and he goes to this one house in the Cerulean Sea, which is supposed to have like the most dangerous magical kids ever, and he has to go evaluate them. And it's just a story about found family. I love all of the children in this orphanage. I think every single one of them I fell in love with. I love Linus and him coming into himself and being more confident in himself. This is also LGBTQ plus rap. I love that everyone has their own like story and their own personality, and it was just like brought to life in this book. Everyone was like accepted for who they were, obviously not necessarily from the outside world, but within this like home, and it was just so beautiful, and I loved it. It's on a cerulean sea. It's got magical children and found family. I don't think I need to say more. We've got A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a mystery. It is kind of written, so I think it's mixed media. So there's like interviews in here, there's journal entries, there's things like that. But this is following Pip as she tries to find out what actually happened to Andy Bell. The town believes Andy Bell's boyfriend Sal Singh did it, but he died before the police could arrest him. And she's trying to figure out what actually happens, and she's working with his brother Robbie to figure out like what really went on. And it's just so good. It's like a modern, I always say modern day Nancy Drew. I think it's better than Nancy Drew, but she definitely has that Nancy Drew feel, like, you know, high school sleuth. I just think that this series gets better and better with every book, and I'm excited to finish the last one because I haven't yet, but I want to really soon. It's just one of those like books that you can fly through in the summer. I feel like because of the mixed media, it makes it really easy to read, and I would take this on vacation. If I hadn't read the series, I would definitely be reading it during the summer. So yeah, I would highly recommend picking this book up if you haven't already. And then the final one is Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Casimano. This is a woman who gets mistaken for a hit woman at a Panera, and then shenanigans ensues. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, it's funny. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so good for summer, because it's just one of those like thrillers that, or mysteries I guess, that you just like can have fun with. I would take this to the beach and read this. I have Finley Donovan Knocks Him Dead, and I definitely will be reading that this summer. It's a mystery that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just over the top and ridiculous, and I think that's perfect for summer. Now for my TBR books, and books I'm hoping to get to this summer. I probably won't get to all of them because I'm such a mood reader that I always say I'm going to get to books and then I don't. I want to get to Bunny by Mona Awad. I feel like this is a really good summer horror. It is about a girl who is in her master's program, and she befriends these girls who call themselves the Bunnies, and then I think they're doing like weird experiments. I don't know, it sounds weird and kind of creepy and just a strange fun time. And so I think that this one will be one I want to get to maybe in July. We'll see. This one is A Rip Through Time by Kelly Armstrong. It's a mystery, but she's an FBI agent, I believe, and she gets sent back in time after she is attacked in the same spot that this woman, like 100 years prior, has been attacked. And there's something about time travel mysteries that always scream summer to me. I had read A Murder in Time by Julie McElwain, and that's like a 5-book series, and I always would read it in summer. I would take it on road trips and stuff, and there's just something about mystery that does time travel that I just have to read in the summer. I don't know. So this is a new release, and I'm so excited to get to it. I think it's going to be like the perfect filler. I haven't read a lot of time travel mystery since that series, and so I'm excited to have a new one to try. Then this one is The Verifiers by Jane Peck. This is following a queer Chinese American woman, and she works for this like social media company, and she is like always been trying to be what her parents want her to be, but she hasn't told them that she prefers women, and she also hasn't told them what she really wants to do with her life and things like that. So she's trying to come to terms with that. And then also she works for this technology firm. I think it's like a dating app, and I think a mystery starts to go down in there, and she's going to have to solve it. It just seems so good, and it seems like something about that technology mystery romance aspect is going to be perfect for summer. This one is Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q Sutanto, and the second book is out as well. And this is like a girl, I think she accidentally murders her boyfriend at a wedding, and her aunties have to cover it up. It's supposed to be ridiculous in the vein of like Finley Donovan is Killing It, and so that's why I think I want to pick this up, because I love Finley Donovan is Killing It, so I think this will give me that same fun, cozy, ridiculous mystery I've been looking for. Then we've got A Deadly Inside Scoop by Abby Collette, and this is a cozy mystery at an ice cream parlor shop in Ohio, where this woman, Bronwyn, she kind of takes over this ice cream parlor from her family, and she's just trying to keep it afloat, and I think someone dies eating her ice cream. Let's see. She finds it, oh, this is in winter, but she finds a body in the snow. But I'm still going to read it in summer, because this cover, ice cream, all of that screams summer to me. There's 3 books in this series, so I think it'd be fun to just have something like that. I usually don't read like food type cozy mysteries, so I'm excited to give this a try. And there's also Death by Dumpling that I would love to give a try as well. Then the final book is The Maid by Nita Prose. This is about a maid who is underestimated by a lot of people, and I think it's not explicitly said, but I think she's supposed to be neurodivergent, maybe autistic, and she is going around and trying to figure out who killed this person. It's a locked room mystery. No one can figure out how he was killed, so I think it must have been one of the staff. And she's just trying to figure out what happened and clear her name. And I just think it sounds really good, and I'm really excited for the representation in here, and I'm excited to see how it is done. So yes, that is the last book. So yeah, those are all the books I have. I hope that you found some recommendations. I have really enjoyed all the books that I've read from the stack that I showed you, and then this stack, I feel like all of these are going to be right up my alley, so I'm excited to get to them, and I will let you know my thoughts in future reading vlogs. But thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you'd hit subscribe and leave a comment of what your books you're gonna read for summer, what your like TBR for summer is, and maybe we can all get recommendations from each other. I will see you next time.